Most important thing to show you and talk about, first of all, is the health and condition of the boys. We have just seen the very first video images of the soccer team and of their rescuers in hospital. So as we take a look at this together, what we heard from the doctor from the hospital in Chiang Rai, the boys are strong in their minds and in their hearts, but 3 of them have minor lung infections. He specified pneumonia, but 3 minor infections. They are having their blood tested, as we talked about. They will be in hospital for 7 to 10 days, and then they will be resting and recovering at home for 30 days, the doctors have said. As we look at those images, quite striking. You see sitting up, all wearing face masks with their nurses looking after them. They remain in quarantine, but giving Thai greetings there as they look to the camera. They are now eating normally, we can tell you, no longer on the liquid diet or just on the porridge. They've moved on to their normal foods. Don't know if they've had the fried rice and pork that they requested, but they're no longer restricted in what they can eat. We've also seen from them in some of these pictures, and you get the waves there, we have seen from their families who are there outside the glass looking in at their boys, and some of them tearing up as they saw their sons. The parents as well, mothers in all of the images, wearing masks as well and crying. But again, as we look at this is the first video that we have from inside the hospital in Chiang Rai to show the boys. Very, very appreciative of the care that they are receiving, as you see in some of those greetings. And we also are hearing that in terms of their mental health, the boys are recovering nicely. But again, that's part of the rehab. These are images of the last of the Navy SEALs, the SEALs who were in the cave with the boys once they were rescued until they were brought out, and they too in quarantine and being tested to make sure that they are all right. What we learned as well, just a little bit more detail, some of the key decisions along the way, just how difficult it was to maneuver. That we knew, that we've been told a number of times, and they looked at the options for what they should do for the boys. Should they keep them there for an extended period of time? The key things that happened were the dropping level of oxygen. When it went to 15%, they said 12% was going to be critical. So they knew with the oxygen level dropping, they were going to have to act quickly. And of course, with those monsoon rains moving in, it was almost impossible to fight against nature, is what we heard from one of the officials. And they decided that they were going to have to do something very much. A really difficult operation that we have never experienced before was how they were characterizing the rescue operation. We also heard, in terms of the difficulties, one of the things that enabled them to surmount that was the incredible international cooperation. U.S., Australia, China, the U.K., all of the countries mentioned and thanked, and they talked about how that was critical in terms of getting this to a successful conclusion, and how this was going to be, they thought, a learning opportunity for rescue missions of this sort in the future. They've learned so much from all of this. Michael Serapio joining me here in studio as we continue to look at these images. And Michael, you're just seeing these for the first time as you come in. We've been showing them, and this was part of the news briefing that we've been watching live on CBC News Network. The nurses there, but there are the boys in their quarantine. You see the Thai greetings. They're sitting up. Yes, they're wearing their masks, but they look to be, as the doctor said, in relatively good health after that incredible ordeal. For some of them, 18 days in that cave, and there they are.
There they are. And, you know, as well, we also heard that news conference that some of them, 3 of them, 2 of the boys and the coach, having minor chest infections, minor bouts of pneumonia. But it's also interesting to see how very happy they seem despite being in quarantine right now. Of course, happy to be rescued, but also many pointing out the fact that they are young boys, part of a soccer team, so athletic to begin with. So despite the ordeal, their youth and their general health being in their favor as they recover, Heather. So some amazing images that we are seeing there. Now, we should point out as well that we're getting from hospital officials the fact that while the boys were not able to get the fried rice and the chicken that they wanted right off the bat, as we said, because they were under observation. There are now some of those boys going on to a normal food. In fact, the first 4 boys who were taken out on Sunday are back to normal food. They're moving about the most of the whole group there. And the next 4 boys that came out on Monday, they're now onto soft food. So they're certainly getting closer to what they wanted to eat. Their parents still looking at them through glass, but not long from now will be able to actually enter the rooms wearing hazmat suits, as some reports have described it. Will have to stay a bit away from their boys, so they're not going to be able to hug them, but at least they'll be able to see them, at least the first 8 boys. Their parents waiting very anxiously to get a part of that, Heather.
So as we look at those, and we'll just keep those pictures up because these are the images the world is wanting to see. Of course, the world riveted by the story of the rescue, and really one great big sigh, and in many cases tears of joy yesterday as those boys, all of them, emerged from the cave. So these images of them in hospital are going to be welcome indeed. So we'll keep them up as we talk about this. We'll move into another area. One of the things that was interesting from the news conference, Michael, the acting governor of the province, but also the person who's been really taking the lead role as the director or the head person on this mission, talked about a couple of people. One, Sergeant Sam, the Thai diver who came out of retirement to help out and, of course, died, passed away on Friday when he ran out of oxygen. I consider him as a true hero, is how he was described, and he will be remembered at a ceremony on Saturday. But they also paid special tribute to an Australian member of the team, Michael. Without him, I don't think we can succeed. That is how the head of the mission described Dr. Richard Harris.
That's right.
Tell us about him.
Dr. Richard Harris from Adelaide, Australia, Heather, and he was the rescuer who went into the caves to assess the boys' health, and he stayed with them for 3 days. Reportedly also one of the last rescuers to leave that cave. And we have to say that even before the rescue in Thailand was attempted, he was known for his unique abilities. We have here a medical expert, an experienced cave diver, a humanitarian who has responded to natural disasters in the Pacific region. So Australian officials say he was requested specifically by the British dive team that discovered the trapped boys, and his aid to the rescue was requested by the highest levels, rather, of the Thai government. So Dr. Harris responded despite being on vacation. And for those who knew him, Heather, they say he was the perfect man to help with these stranded boys. Take a listen to what we heard earlier from Australian officials.
He's an extremely humble man, and the amount of weight and pressure that was pushed on him in the role that he played, I have the utmost respect for everything that he's done. He is what I would consider personally one of the most professional doctors I've ever met.
Now, those who also know Dr. Harris say he's a family man who's brilliant with children, so they say he would have been very helpful in prepping the boys. Again, he stayed in there for 3 days, making sure they're healthy enough to undertake that dive, as well as to walk them through what they were going to go through. That said, we have to say that Dr. Harris did experience a personal tragedy of his own, because not much after the rescue was over, he received news that his father had died. So his celebration was cut short, Heather. But many Australians do want him honored for his efforts in Thailand. They're calling for Dr. Richard Harris to be named Australian of the Year, which is the highest civilian honor that could be afforded to him by the Commonwealth of Australia. So not only the Thai government and officials that you heard there during the press conference saying that he was very instrumental to the success of this rescue, but also Australians taking notice of one of their own stepping up and helping out these boys and wanting to give him the highest honor that they can.
You heard the rescue officials, the government officials, paying tribute to Dr. Harris, offering condolences on the passing of his father. And just as you say, those incredible details. There he was on vacation. He left his vacation in Thailand to help, went to advise on the boys' health, and ended up spending those days with them in the cave, and one of the last people to emerge yesterday. Looking there, Michael, thank you very much.